Hey, Chris Liepe here. Liberian Girl, Michael Jackson.
I want you, baby. Ooh.
It's like he's adding to the sort of tribal nature of the song, and it's perfectly syncopated within the more programmed elements. One of my favorite MJ songs because of the different vocalists he becomes throughout the progression of this song. The very beginning, the way he swells his voice, which you can hear a lot better on the Multitracks because you can hear the rawness. And then the way he transitions into pure rock, improvisational, playful MJ by the end. These Multitracks are amazing, especially for the vocals, in part because there are no effects on the voice. The reverbs that you hear, the added compression, the EQ, the presence that you're hearing in the mix that all of us have enjoyed for all these years are not present here. And so you really get a sense for his mic proximity, how he works the mic, and how his consonants come across, how he engages with different rhythmic aspects. You can hear better, way better, here. And if you've seen me do breakdowns of other Michael Jackson Multitracks, you know that there's a lot to cover, so I want to jump right into this. Due to the nature of these videos and this type of content, I have to be very careful how I present this. I have to stop. I have to play a little bit and then talk a little bit and then play a little bit more. If I don't, the video won't exist. So just trust me on this. I like enjoying this as much as you do and hearing things uninterrupted. But because of the way that the Google gods and algorithms and copyright holders work, this is how it has to be. Let's get into it. Now, I know I just got done saying that there's no reverb, but on these parts, there is reverb. MJ's stuff is dry. Before we get into some of the vocals, I think it's really cool to just listen to some of these percussion elements. I mean, out of context, and when you don't understand where they're going. Really interesting stuff. Those sound very synthy to me. In past evaluations of Multitracks, I have noticed that it's real strings. Interesting why they choose to do what, because the budgets and creative limits here are very, very limitless, right? To hear these in isolation, even in opening here, is really fun. All right, let's listen to some isolated vocals. Can you hear that bleed? I mean, this stuff right here, where you're hearing his humanity. Like moving around a little bit and preparing to deliver the song. I mean, if you're connected to this music at all and you get to hear that stuff, it's just wonderful.
Liberian girl, you came and you changed my world. A love so brand new. Liberian girl, you came and you changed me, girl. A feeling so true.
So listen to how he swells into things. This line is a perfect example.
A feeling so true.
He had this eerie way of being able to swell on a single note, and you don't hear this as much.
A feeling so true.
A feeling so true. You don't hear that as much as a swell, as much as you do sort of this bleeding of emotion. But it is this volume swell. That's the root technique that he's using. I didn't really hear that about his voice until I heard this in isolation. Like I said, you hear it as this emotional bleeding, but not necessarily a volume swell. Cool.
A feeling so true. Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world. Just like in the movies with two lovers in a scene.
Okay, now this part right here. First of all, listen to how the mic is being, or preamp or whatever, it's being overloaded. There's top end, the sweet distortion that's going on.
You know that you came and you changed my world.
It's not brittle, but it is brash. And this shows up a lot towards the end when he starts getting a little bit more. Like the signal chain they have set up here is brilliant for rock Michael. Now, when I first listened to these background vocals here, they were panned center. And I thought, oh, no, that's not how I remember them. But listen to them if I solo both of them out.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world.
And then I pan them out to the left and right. Listen.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world.
Very interesting. They sound like the same.
Liberian girl.
Of course, there's reverb here too. They sound like the same parts doubled and separated out into different tracks.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world, just like in the movies.
Very sibilant reverb. But I like how the same performances panned out to either side create this massive MJ choir. And you listen here, this sounds a little bit more like the full mix we're used to.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world, just like in the movies with two lovers in a scene.
You really get a sense, though, even in that context, that there is no processing on this mic. It doesn't sit in these harmonies. You know, even if I do the whole mix there for part of this.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world.
You hear how these lead vocals, they peak out. They're not mixed, they're not tamed. MJ's way of sitting in the mix is largely due to, well, his performance is amazing, but the post-production that they put on there to take his dynamics, to take his swelly and sort of sporadic use of working the mic, tame that stuff and lay it in the mix. I mean, props to the engineers and mixers and all that stuff. Listen to this section here.
It's with two lovers in a scene. Then she says, do you love me? And he says so willingly, I love you, Liberian girl.
Do you hear how he leans into the mic? I love that. I just get this picture of... Listen right here again.
It's with two lovers in a scene.
With two lovers. You get the sense that he's right up. And then here...
It's with two lovers in a scene. Then she says, do you love me? And he says so willingly.
You can hear him backing away from the mic until he gets to this... He gets that neat sort of inhale engagement there. You know, for the longest time, I didn't hear these as inhales. I heard these as... you know, going outward. But the way that he squeals, listen to this again. It's absolutely an inhale phonation. And this stuff, getting a rhythmic and controlled handle on how you can do inhales, both percussively and with pitch, is really neat. You just have to do it in moderation.
And he says so endlessly, I love you, Liberian girl.
And then right there, out here, and then right here. You can't hear that as much on my mic because I've got compression and limiting on it. But when we don't have compression, limiting, and EQ and any post-production things on Michael's mic, you can hear things. It characterizes things more for me.
I love you, Liberian girl.
Right up. You can hear the low end becomes more prominent in his voice because he's closer to the mic. And again, these wonderful incidental things going on here. You can hear him sort of exhaling and inhaling, getting prepared and moving around a little bit. Oh, so cool. Now, I like how these two vocalists interact. Was the last time you tried that with your voice? And to listen to some of the instrumentation apart from the voice is always fun too. This snare really stands out to me. If you solo it, listen to the interaction between the kick and the snare. I don't think that I really give producers enough credit sometimes on how they diversify their sounds. This massively sort of gated snare sound sounds so cool, in part because the kick is so different than it. So dry. Interesting from a production standpoint. Your contrasts are what help your mix. Back to the voice.
Babe. All right. Liberian girl.
There's another interesting and swelled thing. Listen to this sound again. Girl. He's so nuanced. Right here.
All right.
Where he lets his vibrato, it's almost a tremolo instead of a vibrato, as with that rasp. Ugh.
More precious than any pearl, your love so complete, Liberian girl.
So straight. Listen again here to more.
More precious than any pearl.
Notice how vibrato-y he is on, or tremolo he is on more.
More precious.
More. And then straight here.
Than any pearl.
And then, of course, Pearl, he's got more vibrato. He had the best control over being able to intentionally go completely straight and musical and then use his vibrato and this tremolo sound where he needed to for the right desired effect.
You kiss me, then ooh, the world. You do this to me. Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world. Just like in the movies with two lovers in a scene.
Now, this is likely comped. If we get, well, it is comped. You can see it even in the name of the file. But listen here, the transition between the end with just the lead vocals.
Just like in the movies with two lovers in a scene.
Again, there's that proximity thing, but there's also this different character that he's projecting here.
Just like in the movies with...
You know, you get this sense that he's speaking to a larger audience, you know, just like in the movies. And then, so if we as singers can learn to sort of gesture and embody different postures when we're singing, and I totally hear that in his performance here. It's a posture change which leads to a character change and a vocal engagement change and a mic proximity change, all in one.
My world, just like in the movies with two lovers in a scene. And she says, do you love me? And he says so endlessly, I love you, Liberian girl.
Oh, having those neat snaps and stuff right here, though. Listen. That sounds more like an exhale percussive thingy.
And he says so in his sleep.
More of an exhale squeak as opposed to... You can tell the difference because one sounds a bit more whistly and the other one sounds a bit more head voicey. He goes back and forth on some of these.
I love you, Liberian girl.
Little punch there after the snap. You can tell that these percussive body movements are on the same tracks as his vocal comps.
Ooh, babe.
Listen to this stop here.
Ooh, babe.
Ooh, 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 ooh. That's hard to do, to stop the airflow and still maintain that kind of agility.
Babe,
So neat. Let's listen here with these feature vocals here.
Ooh, babe.
Cool. What's that? Is it a percussive instrument? Is it like a something he did with his hands? I don't know. Interesting.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world. I wait for the day when you have to say I do.
Listen to how he climbs in this pitch. We'll leave the background vocals, the choir, out for a minute.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you...
You know how he sighs into came? Came! As I said before, everything Michael Jackson does is incredibly calculated. And so he's got this sort of trajectory as he's building, and then the release comes with the sigh. It's almost like there's a conversation going on with his voice as he's singing. He's having a conversation with his own voice while he's singing. And it's this sort of loop of communication. It's very, very interesting to hone in on some of these nuances. He's more nuanced than almost any other singer I've heard in this context. Listening with the background vocals in.
Liberian girl, you know that you came and you changed my world. I wait for the day when you have to say I do.
Right up on that mic again.
And I smile and say it too, and forever will be true. I love you, Liberian.
Oh, now he's just belting. This is Rock Michael coming out of his cage.
I love you, Liberian. I love you.
It's starting to be more compressed.
Liberian girl, all the time.
Hear that sigh?
All the time.
Right there, yes.
All the time. I love you.
Now, even that right there, hear the spunkiness there?
I love you.
There's attitude here that no focusing on technique is going to get you. Yeah, he had great technique. And he had a very in tune way of exploring his own vocal possibilities. But he is so one with his music, with his arranging. Ugh.
I love you, Liberian girl.
You can hear the room a little bit in there, a bit more. The echoing of the room.
Girl.
There's another wonderful inhale sort of thing. You hear that pre-squeak that happens there. And then listen. You can hear him exhale and then inhale again.
All the time.
Oh.
I love you, Liberian girl.
Let's listen just to the background vocals here for a second. The girl! So cool. Oh. Wow. That articulation and agility even up there. Wow.
Girl!
I like that he left the main articulation to the background choir.
Girl! Girl!
You don't even really hear it. You more feel it unless you have the lead vocals out, which is why it's so fun to listen to these like this.
I love you!
Now here we go. Here's the Michael Jackson rock version coming out in all of its wonderful color. This is the same voice that comes out on Dirty Diana, and it's just...
I love you! I love you, baby! I want you!
His distortion, his compression distortion is just wonderful.
I love you, baby! Ooh!
Ooh.
I love you, baby! I want you, baby!
This part sticks out to me. I'm gonna go ahead and amplify this a little bit. Listen to his exit right here.
I love you, baby!
There's this sigh there that you would never ever hear.
I love you, baby! I want you, baby!
I love you, baby. And then going into it.
I love you, baby! I want you, baby!
Yes.
Ooh!
And then the stomping. If you've watched other Michael Jackson videos of mine, and you've probably heard this other places too, but they would actually put him on a platform and mic that platform. So when his feet were getting going and the rest of his body was musically engaging with his vocal performance, they'd capture it and it would add to the groove of the song. That's definitely the case here. I can bring those up so that you can get a better context here. In fact, I'm going to bring this up and then we'll play the actual music with it.
I want you, baby! Ooh!
Okay, so if we do this and then we'll put this in with the rest of the music.
I want you, baby!
Hear how those complement the drums? I mean, it's so cool. If we go to here and here.
I want you, baby! Ooh!
It's like he's adding to the sort of tribal nature of the song, and it's perfectly syncopated within the more programmed elements of the song. Thanks so much for going on this special journey with me, and thanks so much to my unnamed still friend who has gifted me these amazing tracks. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you for more.